Great sunrise, family. I hope all is well with you as it is with me. This day, let me see some. You know, we learn not just, of course, we know it's not in a controlled situation always. What we learn from the time we wake up to the time it's, for us to get the rest that we need overnight. So as soon as we open our eyes in the day, we are learning things. And it doesn't take organization to get us this education. Hey, DOD, peace, daddy song. Ah, you crazy. Yeah, welcome. And it doesn't take a lot for this education. Now, one thing I had on my mind was there was one important thing that I definitely want to get across to you. That in our group, our unique Nubian, Bantu, beautiful, dark, and lovely people that we are, we unfortunately, but not unfortunately, are lost in the sauce as far as self knowledge. I say it can be unfortunate and it's not so unfortunate because many of us make our way through and we find who we are. And it's something that could never be taken out of us once we recognize what we have that was put in us. But you notice the title of my video is The Animated. Because, like I said, lost in the sauce, when you're following, when you're being, you really are not using your mind in this training because education, I can tell you what, it never hurted me. Going to school did not hinder me from the Nubian Bantu person that I am. It did not stop me from being able to use my brain that I was given. Um, it actually pushed it more. Even though the training is not good, many people, if you love learning, you just like life finds a way. There's always a way to get what you need. And I found that in school, it's not about the information necessarily that they're giving me. It's about how I'm using it and how I'm allowing it to turn my wheels in my mind. You know what I'm saying? Am I, being an empath, history class and the middle school was very, very difficult for me. I felt very, very deep um, not just I'd say it's not just middle school. It moved on up into college years as well. Um, Hearing some things were very, 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 very uh, tough to learn. So, but anyways, we know that the inorganic people, they shield themselves from certain things. So we know there's a difference between them and us. We're more open, and we should be open. We should not be thinking alike. Debating to me is what these inorganic people do because one person wants to be right, one and but who's to say is there a right or wrong, you know? So our thinking, our minds are different. We're not supposed to, as a Bantu people, we're not supposed to have something agreeable all the time. It's supposed to be, that's part of our learning. This person may say, when you take a child out and and you're studying the sky above, might say it's pink. The other child might say, well, I see purple. That's okay, because that's you don't want the same repeated copy minded thinking people. That's not what we're here for. Not to be copy and paste, not to be reciting the same information, repeating. Not to be stuck in a religion. Have a path. And I emphasize path so much because a lot of our people got lost in crime and lost in the lower energies, frequencies. And that's the lack of knowledge of self and been forced to take on another identity, which is the animated, inorganic being's identity of existing. So unfortunate for us, but fortunate for us, we have minds that are not like the inorganic animated being, where we could get stuck in that situation because their thing is survival. We have a greater thing than that, than just survival. So when we look at that and examine the differences, it becomes a strength for us. It becomes a source of strength. But if we don't ever And we just keep on the pattern of being animated. Yesterday, well, the other day, I was watching a video and on Keith Newsom's show, and we were looking at the judges, the Black female judges, right? Now, you can go do the research later, but it was like the Stedford wives. You see, if the Black woman's not careful, she can fall into programming. We all could fall into a programming at any time if we're not loving thyself, if we're not knowing thyself, which is very critical. When you put what people say, like go to the highest, best school, go to the best school, university, Harvard, law school, you can make a difference this way. No, this is the animated way of being, existing. As long as Bantu people trying to do things the animated way, we're taking on another identity, and we're taking our own identity and allowing someone else to try to attempt to take it away from us. But they can never take any of our identities. As we've seen throughout the centuries, they've always replaced themselves with our identities and forced us to take on their ways and their identity. So, let me finish talking about these judges, justices. Well, when Keith was talking about it on his show the other day, and he pulled up all their information, where they went to universities, who they were married to, their careers. They had about a couple things in common. Many went to Harvard University. Black judges now. And they ended up marrying Caucasian men. They ended up marrying Caucasian men. Excuse me, fam. So, I always hear, don't hate the player, hate the game. Yeah, we can't hate the player for playing his hands like that. Many of our sisters may not had a father in the house to guide them. Strong Black man, strong Nubian father to guide them. Not to say that even if they had, because I know people that have strong Nubian fathers and they still marry Caucasian because of society. Society says a lot of things. It has a lot of messages out here, a lot of different messages, especially for us as a people who so-called, what they call downtrodden upon. So, um, a lot of people think that these relationships really do something. Um, no, it does something all right. It destroys the black woman. It's something that you ain't gonna see physically because it's something that more that the black woman needs, that the Nubian woman needs, besides just um, a show, just a cosmetic of things. We can talk about the life, but it's animated. I didn't say dead for wives for no reason. We all know the movie Stepford Wives. You programmed. You don't in those relationships. You're one-sided. Very, very one-sided. Um, and a lot of times it's not really acknowledged by that person because that person's not thinking about the psychology behind why they're in that situation, interracial relationship with something that is not their balance at all, completely. So they give more into them because of their race. It's just like you guys when I was talking about how money is used to control the masses of the people, it's particularly the downtrodden people, the Bantu people, um, which money is not real, but it's a tool used to tell us we're in poverty compared to someone else who has white skin. And they use not only, so they're using two different tools. They're using the color scheme and they're using the finances. So it's the same way, the same thing. We have spirituality. They have nothing like that of a kind. They may want it, but having and wanting is two different things. Being able to obtain it is totally different too, as well. Something they would never have because of the nature of the inorganic person, the animated person. It's just the nature. The nature doesn't allow for it. So as long as you see the world in the shambles, that's your reason why nature saw fit to keep certain things locked away from being having the capability to reach where we can easily go. Now they may think that they can fly in a rocket to get there, but you can think you're Superman and try to fly off the building, and it may not work for you. That's just the way it is. It is what it is, unfortunately. But there is a thing called I would say imaginary power or superficial powers, where you can think you have power, but as soon as the things you put into play don't work, you recognize that you're just not the one that was given the powers. You have an artificial, that's the word I like to use, artificial sense of empowerment. An artificial sense of empowerment. And that artificial sense of empowerment is all illusionary things that don't exist. That you utilize to seem like you have some kind of control over people you don't even know. Or somehow think you might know, because every so often us Bantu people, we produce a whole different breed. I'm a whole different breed. I'm a whole different breed from the ones that came before me. And you don't know what's out here. Like we don't know Sasquatch, right? We imagine in our minds Sasquatch, but Sasquatch must be good people, because I talked about them before. They can come out here and lift up a car, throw it like it's a potato chip, but they don't. They don't. Maybe they go in and out of some kind of portal. Maybe that's why they have a hard time trying to pinpoint where their locations are. One minute you see them, next minute they're gone. And I talked about before, the Admin Islands, those people made us proud. And they too seem to disappear someplace too. This is a vast planet. A vast universe. Multiverse that we live in. So when we stretch our minds, that's power. Beyond the things that we've been taught. That's learning. That's true learning. And we know that our greats were great because of their inventions that these Caucasians stole, many of them. If it wasn't for us, our people, they'll be still over in Europe today, battling the rats and the Black Plagues. And the sewage. And the religious persecutions. And everything. Even today, our people built this country freely. Nobody paid them. And they were skilled people. Not trained. But because our learning was so different, because we're a unique people, a very unique people, a very strong people. Never give up people. Even when we're in our lowest moments. If they did, many of us wouldn't be here today. But they didn't. And that says a lot. It says a lot, Ben, in the kind of place that we are in. It says a lot. They weren't animated. And I know that there was a sister, Miss America 2019, who they claim committed suicide. But that is yet to be determined. But we got to recognize that being animated and trying to be in these people's identity will harm our children in the long run. We have to be who we are. It's very, very, very important. Probably the most important message I've had for a long time. Be who we are. We can't imitate. I couldn't live like that. We can't imitate the inorganic or animated people. We cannot be like them. We need difference. We need an unanimated life. A life that's not on needs, but on purpose. Not living to fill the gut. Not living with the dreams of money, riches. Not being that perfect wife, that perfect husband. Not getting stuck in those ways of existing. Because you're going to be perfect together. And it's not going to be animated. It's not going to be the masculine is better than the feminine. No. You need both your masculine and your feminine. We have a choice, beautiful people. And that choice is to imitate death, or remember and put together again our lives, our lives, our life, who our true selves are. Not something that was made on a slave plantation. We can see the lessons in front of us every day. Remember, school starts the time you wake up in the morning, it's time to go to bed. It's not no schoolhouse from 8 in the morning to 3 p.m. All day, every day thing. And our lessons are laid out in front of us. There's some things that should be stopped in our community by now. There's some changes in our community that should be made by now, especially with our babies. Especially with ourselves. Come out the box. Come out off the chessboard. Don't allow somebody to move you. Don't allow an entity to move you. You're not animated. You got a soul. The thing that moves you is your soul. The thing that moves me is my soul. The sun, my body, fighting this pneumonia, My body got real, real hot. And then it would get hot. And then it would get energized. It would get energized. And it's been that sun that gave me back my strength. And it's been the inner sun in my body that gave me back my strength when I was laying in the bed. Still fighting it. Still trying to get it out of my system. Pneumonia is the result of not getting rid of a cold or a flu. And then it ends up becoming worse into a pneumonia. So this time, I've been fighting really hard to get over the cold, to get it out of the system totally, so I don't have to have another bout with pneumonia ever again. Ever, ever, never, ever again. Hold on, family. Hold on a second. So I also want to talk about how important, well, I talk about this all the time. It's important that we love who we are. It's important to focus on on you, on the Bantu Nubian you. And when I say that, I mean as a whole, we don't have to be concerned for other group of people. And it's very critical that we're not. Because there's a thing, like I mentioned, delusionaries. And delusionaries, you only look at and learn. That's all you can do. That's why they hear. You learn what not to do, what not to become, what not to allow. For yourself in your own life. Especially when you learn their history of these other groups. We just take things on face value. Like I said, the judges who all were graduated from Harvard and married white men, they take things on face value. Their judgments cannot be good. So those are some things that our community has to evaluate and look at. And we also need to evaluate our thinking on how we have to be political. as a people, because politics isn't really working for us. It's been used as a tool. But when we get our upper hand, when we find out what our upper hand is, and realize that it's nothing that these animated and organic beings are utilizing, that the power is you. The power is you. Because without you, a lot of these things can't exist. It would be no purpose for them. No purpose in life for them at all. That means an undoing of centuries of programming or decades of programming. And utilizing our own innovation from within us. We are not animated, although many, because of the loss of identity, many of us see ourselves as animated. But we are not. And some of us even believe ourselves to be animated. That's the mundane of things. That's the I'm going to be a coon. I'm going to go to school. Like, I'm going to do the programming. I'm going to be program minded, where I can end up being a Stanford wife because someone told me that it was important that me as a Black woman, I go and I do this, versus the Black woman who knows and listens to the inner voices within herself and knows that her path is greater than sucking the behind of someone who wants you to do their biddings. You're not doing their biddings. When you're on your path and you're listening to the innermost higher self, the soul, and you're allowing it to move you and guide you along that path of righteousness. Your path of righteousness, of course. This is what made us great people in the ancient times. This is what made our children beautiful and bright in the ancient times. Not a belt, not chastisement, not all these lies. No, the mind, allowing the mind to learn. Why do you think the children ask so many questions? They're curious about this and curious. That's the time when you start guiding them along their path, not telling them what their path is. We're not a block you into four-wall people. We've never been that way. We've never been that way. Not a controlling mom and dad. No. Colonization made our African brothers and sisters, unfortunately, crazy like that. But before ever been touched by pinkness, before ever been touched, we had a sense of life, real life, true life. Utopia is inside the black man and the Nubian man and the Nubian woman. Utopia lives within he and she, made like the nature, frequency, a high frequency. But the lower frequency, like I said, we learn what we do not want. But what happened to our people from slavery until now? We were taught some bad things, some horrible things. Children were snatched. Mothers had to give up their children to be sold to the next plantation. Our people were in zoos like we were animals. Our women were violated for the sake of gynecology today. And I'm not even going to say that ended. You see, the wicked hand was able to rock the cradle unstably, unbalanced. So, us knowing this should make us go the opposite direction of anything that wicked hand does. Especially with the religions. Especially with the religions, because everything's a trick and a trap. A lie and a snare. A whip and a crack. So although we've been through all this turmoil, don't you know he's still here through it all? And that says a lot. It says a lot. It talks about real power. That's what that tells me. That's what I've learned from that. That is the real power. It's the people who've endured over and over again and still endure, but still loving, still have the righteousness. Because we're not in our rightful minds, of course, but we still have our righteousness. We still have our greatness. We still learn, even though they give us a training. But some of us don't. But some of us do survive it. Some of us come out with our own minds. Some end up being Stepford wives, unfortunately, and then parade in front of our people as it's the great hope for us, as if to be the great hope, because this is a Black woman judge. Let no man judge you on this earth, ever. I don't care where they say they're from. Don't put yourself in a position to be judged. If every one of our people in our group come off the path of animation, we love ourselves, we stop the programming, stop the religious control, with inorganic Jesus, the literal knowledge we need to do away with, because it's useless. Don't you know the literal knowledge that you see in the Bible? It's the same thing you see in day to day. So that's animation to me. More animation. To the mundane. The kill, F, sex, eat, shit. That's what we got to lift ourselves from. Let them have the war. Let them have the sex. Let them have the eating. We get back to self. We get back to life. For the Nubian, the Bantu people. Our creativity, our thinking out the box, our innovation ideas, our uniqueness is what we need to bring to our own table. More than anything, more than anything, there lies our liberation. Comes from within. Everything is within with us. So thank you, family, for being here and listening. With that said, true love, real peace, and the higher self within each and every one of us, our soul. Till next time, peace. And chaos for our change that we want to see coming, our new world, and throw aside this old world. Till next time, family, may all be well with you.